Hey everybody, coming at you from out in the wilderness, and we have Nick behind the camera.
Hello.
Alright, another exciting video. Now, I had been recently talking about survival kits, and people were asking, they were like, why don't you take a survival kit and go out and set up a survival scenario? Well, the only problem with that is there's so many different kits, so many kits tailored towards different times of year and different locations. And how do you really pick a scenario? You know what I mean? Because there's so many different survival situations you can get into. So I thought further about it, and the more I thought about it, I thought to myself, well, maybe what I should do is just grab a kit and take it out and kind of show the decisions, the choices, and the behaviors that are never shown on TV. They're actually the reality of what you should do in survival. And because some of those things on TV that they showed were kind of extreme, and they were overly dramatized to make the show interesting, because in reality they can't really show the reality of how boring it is and how boring your behaviors and actions are. So without rambling on much more, let's look at a couple of kits, then let's take one and let's go out in the woods, and I'm going to say some things that I want to say that I think could help you if you're actually in a survival situation. So, anything you want to add, Nick?
No, let's get started.
All right, let's get started. All right, let's talk about a few kits right here. Let's take a look down here for a minute now. In general, a survival kit, I'm thinking, should be possibly about this size right here. All right, now that kit has pretty much basically everything that I would need to survive. And to me, a kit like this, what you can do is you can take some sort of a belt, and the easiest way to carry a kit is on as a fanny pack, as in somewhere's on the small of your back, right back in here, because it just seems like that's a place. It seems like that's a place where it's not cumbersome, to where it won't be bothering you too much, and you won't even realize it's there. But that's a very, very small kit. Okay. Now, I'm not going to use that kit. Here's another kit that's another size up, and it's got a nice belt with a little padding on it. Okay, that's another size up, and I'm not going to use that. This is a civilian fanny pack. You could use that. All right. This is a GI butt pack, but with the pistol belt, it's kind of heavy because the belt itself is kind of heavy. But for the sake of this video, if I use kits like these, I know how YouTube works. And there's going to be all kinds of comments about, what about this, how come you didn't carry this, you need that. So instead of doing that, I want to focus more on the behaviors and the choices and how you're going to behave and act. So with that said, I'm going to bring this is a Deluxe Survival Kit. Okay, this has got pretty much everything that you need to turn a survival situation into a camping trip. Because you won't really, if you get much bigger and bulkier than this, it's going to be more like camping or hiking or backpacking. I mean, you got to say, you know, this is about enough kit and that's it. You know, this is about a 6 to 7 pound kit. And, you know, like I said though, this is all the bells and whistles. This is about as deluxe of a kit as you can get. And so once we get up there and we figure out where we're lost, when we're lost, that's where we're going to get into the contents of this kit. That and a canteen, because you got to have water. Now, there are ways of carrying water in these kits, but it won't be much. I would much rather be caught out with a 2-quart canteen, because water is very, very, very important. And now, one other thing I want to say about this not in the kit that I think is a good idea, because this kit is cram-packed, is I think it's a good idea to have one of these wind-up solar radios with a flashlight, because you never have to worry about batteries. And you wind this thing up, and it's got a flashlight in it, it's got a solar panel, and then it's got a radio in it. Alright, there's the antenna. Now see, that's something nice right there, and I almost put it in this kit, but there wasn't room for it. But I just wanted to give out an honorable mention that if you can, it's a good idea to carry one of those either in your pack or in your pocket. But, you know, that's a little bulky right there. Now, in this pack, also, you're going to see, I'm going to have a hammock, okay? Now, I've got a hammock and a tarp in here. Now, I want to say this real quick. It's a common hammock and a tarp. This tarp is much smaller, much more compact, and would remove some of the bulk. This is a net hammock, okay? Now, a net hammock is basically a net, and it has rope on each end instead of suspension. There's the suspension. It's just a common rope that you tie to a tree. And so this minimizes a lot of the bulk. Right here. See how small that is? There's your shelter right there. But I'm not going to use this on this video because I know how YouTube works. People are going to be like, oh, why don't you get a real hammock? Oh, you're using rope. But I'm just going to go ahead, and a real hammock is a lot more comfortable. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. But I'm just saying, if you want to minimize the bulk, this is the way you go, because this ain't real comfortable, but you won't die using it. All right. Now, this is about as small a tarp as you can go, but it's black. Black is the wrong color, and I'll explain why, at least for a survival situation. Now, if you wanted to take to the ground, you could carry as small a sleeping bag as possible and a tack bivvy. All right. That way you could put the sleeping bag in the tack bivvy and sleep on the ground. But if there's no trees available, but what I'm going to do is we're going to set the hammock up, we're going to find trees, but I'm going to show you what you can do if you don't have trees, okay? So, enough talking, let's head to the woods. All right, we're out here in the woods now, and we're going to set up the survival scenario, okay? Now, for whatever reason, okay, you went fishing, you walked to a lake and you got lost, you were backpacking, you went off trail, you got lost, you left camp for exploring, you got lost, your vehicle broke down in the middle of nowhere, and you got to walk out to find help. Whatever the scenario, there's no reason to get into it. Let's just say that you're out there and you're lost and you've got your kit. Okay? Now, on TV, what do? They're like, oh, let's build a shelter, let's set up some traps, and we're starving to death, let's get some food. Well, nah, that's not really the reality of it. The reality of it is you're lost, and then when you become lost, there's a certain time that a panic could set in. And then you're looking around at the woods, and everything looks the same, okay? So there's a certain point in time that you're going to accept. You're going to say, okay, I don't know which way to go. I am lost, okay? There. At that point, stop, stay where you are, and let's take our kit off and take a look, because there's certain things that are going to be in our kit now that we're going to need, okay? So I've got my kit back here. And like I said, it's a deluxe kit. I feel like I've got everything that I need for a survival situation. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this kit down. All right. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this knife off. All right. Now your selection of knife, okay, it's up to you. But I think in a situation like this, like say in case you have to build a shelter or have a fire, you need to have a saw. And this knife, this is a sawed revolver, and it goes from a knife to a saw. All right. That is about as an efficient a tool as you can get for that size. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to strap this on my side so that to make sure that I'm going to have it with me and available. All right. So now I really don't suggest that you plan on making shelter in a survival situation, because that's energy you're going to expend. If you're going to make a good debris shelter, takes about 4 hours and a lot of energy, and that is if you brought cordage. If you don't have cordage, it could take anywhere from 8 hours to 12 hours. And well, let's see, 4 hours with cordage and a tarp, 6 to 8 hours with no cordage, and about 12 hours with no tarp to make a good one. All right, so let's look inside here. Can you see that good right there, Nick?
Yeah.
All right, so let's look in here and let's see what we have in here. Let's unhook this. First off, we have a poncho of some kind, okay? Poncho's great. You can either wear it, or if you have to, you can use it as cover. So let's unzip this and let's take a look inside here at what we have. All right, the very first thing in our kit is this, okay? It's at the top of our kit because this is a survival kit, okay? This is the element of survival here. Now, the first thing that we want to do is, let's lay out some of these pieces here. All right. is we want a vest. Now, why do we want a vest? Okay, because we want to be seen. Okay, you want to be as loud and as obnoxious as possible. Now, you want to be like your...
Well, I can do that without a vest.
Can you? All right, you want to be like your uncle at your cousin's 5th wedding. You want to be loud and obnoxious. All right, so we're going to put this on. Now, they make vests bigger than this, but this vest, there's certain times of year that you don't want to you don't want a vest that's too hot. Okay. Now, this is a high visibility vest, kind of like the construction type workers wear, and it's got the reflective qualities for if light hits you. All right. Now, real important, the orange hunter's vest. This is something people don't talk about. Certain times of the year, yellow jackets and other flying, stinging insects are attracted to the color orange, but they're not attracted to this color. Okay, so that's just a little bit something else to think about. Now, we also have a compass. All right. Now, a compass, you're going to use it to navigate your way out, and you've also got a mirror for signaling people. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my top pocket because it's very, very important. This I'm going to go over in a minute. This is some yellow tape and a magic marker. This is a little trick that I have never heard anybody talk about, but it's very, very, very important for if you're lost and somebody comes looking for you. Okay, we're going to go over that in a minute. This is a little piece of mylar with a rubber band over it. This is very important on the 2nd or 3rd day. That is a signal device. So let's put that in this pocket. This is a whistle. So let's take this whistle here and let's go ahead and put this whistle on. Alright, this will be your audible signal. Okay, you don't want to walk through the woods screaming into your horse. You want to walk through whistling. SOS, ... dash 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 ... So if you have to, okay. Okay. Anybody trained in search and rescue, they're going to hear that and they're going to know that that's bad. Because a lot of times people in bear territory will just walk through randomly whistling so that the bears will know that they're coming. But ... dash 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 ... Search and rescue will pick up on that. Alright. Now the other things in this kit, let's take a peek in here. What I did is I put the larger elements in here, and I have stuffed cordage in every little nook and cranny. Alright, so in this red thing I got, you can call this a first aid kit, you can call it a boo-boo kit, or you can call it a medical kit. You know, I've been complained at for calling this a first aid kit. But this has basically, let's call this a boo-boo kit and a headache kit then, so for whatever reason. And you need this stuff, but it's got to be as minimal as possible. Okay. Now, let's look in here a minute. I've got all kinds of cordage in here. Alright, they're stuffed in every nook and cranny. And this is a water filter. Sawyer squeeze. Always put your water filters in some sort of a mesh bag so they'll dry out. If they're completely enclosed, they won't dry out, and you can get some sort of mold properties in there. Alright. Now, I've got more cordage. Cordage is just stuffed in every nook and cranny right in here. And then this is a tarp. Okay, now it's a big bulky tarp. Now I brought this along to show you something. See the size of this tarp? It's a lot more concealed, but I haven't been able to find an obnoxious blue tarp like this that was much smaller. Alright? Because as you look around, and people's argued with me on this before, but if you look around, everything is brown and green, and at certain times of year and fall, you're going to see red leaves, yellow leaves, and orange leaves. And so, you know, barring the ocean and a lake, blue is pretty much the only color that's going to stand out here that doesn't occur in nature in the woods. Okay. Now, I also have a hammock with straps. Okay. Now, you can kind of see the bulk of that right there. And I brought along that other little hammock just to show you that this is the hammock with the rope. So this is like a hammock and suspension. This is a hammock and suspension. See, it's about double the size. So you can compare this. This is your shelter. If you want to go minimize and you're not concerned with comfort, there's your shelter and your sleep implements. And then this is for the deluxe version if you really want to be comfortable. And I'm bringing this because, like I said, I don't want a bunch of people crying saying, oh, you should get a real hammock. So, all right. And then in here, what do we have in here? We have a pot full of some items. Okay, I'm going to go over them later. All right. Now, what is this that I had the pot tied up to? Look at the color of that. See? Like I said, you want to be like your uncle at your cousin's 5th wedding. So, let's just do away with this hat. And let's put this on. Alright. A nice bright piece of cloth. So that I can be seen. You want to be seen, you want to be heard, okay? You don't want to... This ain't bushcraft. This ain't camping. If this is a survival situation, you want to be seen. You want to get out. You want to go home. You don't want to stay here. You don't want to build picket fences and grow flowers and raise kids, you know? So, see here? See? Be seen, be heard, okay? That's one of the #1 elements of surviving and getting out, okay? Don't worry about how you look. You know, you want to be seen. All right, so let's stuff the few contents back into the bag, and then I'm going to show you how you really get started on your movement and your decisions. So, we've got all of our gear out for our survival situation because we have come to terms that we are now lost. This is a bad situation, okay? So we have a little bit of daylight, so we're going to try to walk as far as we can. I also have a orange flag, a signal, or it's a signal panel or a flag. More about this in a minute, okay? So let's put this in my pocket because what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut a pole and tie this to it. As we're walking, we're going to be even more obnoxious, all right? Now, first things first, you've decided you're lost.
Yep, and remember, we are definitely lost. Ignore the white stripe on the tree back there.
Yeah, ignore the white stripe on the tree.
You don't see that.
Alright, so what you're going to do now is instead of walking in circles, your compass is your friend. So, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to, I don't know if you want to look around and choose a direction, or if you want to think to yourself where you could possibly wind up at a road or a river or wherever, but pick a direction, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my compass around, moving around, and what I think I'm going to decide to do is I'm going to head, let's head north. Perfect, there's an opening right there. Alright, so if I'm going to head north, now wait a minute, let me turn around this way. Let's head east. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to head east, and we're going to follow the compass. And what I'm going to do is I've got my compass now. When you're out in the open, you can pick a object way off in the distance. But what I'm going to do is, let's say that if I'm going to go east, I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to aim it towards east. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out a tree, like that brown tree. I'm going to walk straight to that tree because it's east of me.
They're all brown.
Well, the real tan brown one. And then
I think I see the one.
And then I'm going to keep going in that direction. And then I'm going to look for another object. And then I'm going to follow it. I'm going to stand in front of it and follow it. And see, that way, instead of walking through the forest, bumping into everything, looking at my compass, I'll pick an object, walk to it, stand in front of it, and then pick another object, walk to it, stand in front of it. And if you have to, you can even turn around backwards and aim back at that object and make sure that you're still reading. In this case, it'd be west because it'd be 180 opposite. Okay, so I'm heading west. All right. Now, I want to know if I get really bad and have to backtrack. I want to know where I started. Where did I originally say, yes, this is where I got lost? Because Maybe I'm not far from the trail. Maybe I'm not far from camp. Maybe I'm not far from the vehicle. Well, that's where a Sharpie and this little roll here comes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll off some yellow tape. Okay, whatever color you want to use, I'm going to roll off some tape. Alright, let's tear this off. Put this back on. Alright, now I'm going to take the tape. But what am I going to do? Well, let's tie it to a tree first. Let's see. Let's tie it to this tree. There you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my magic marker and I'm going to write my name on it. I'm lost, I'm heading east. And there you go. This is my starting point. Okay, that's a very, very important thing that nobody ever talks about. It's a very small piece of kit, but very handy. Because if you wind up walking for an hour and you come back and you see this, something is majorly wrong. Okay? Either your compass is broke or your navigation skills are horrendous. Now, if you've got a cell phone, you can use your GPS. Okay, but a lot of times if you're far out, there won't be a signal. Okay, so now what do we do next? All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to take our signal panel and we're going to make a walking stick out of it, because that way we're going to be even more loud and obnoxious. Okay, all right, see that thing right there? So what we're going to do is we're going to hang this from something. You can get an orange signal panel anywhere, but this one happens to be made by the Hidden Woodsman, in case you asked where it is, because a lot of people don't even carry these, much less use them. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to cut down a pole of some kind, or a small stick to tie this to. All right, and that is where this comes in handy. Let's go get us a small sapling. All right, I always hate cutting live trees on camera because there's always somebody that's going to be crying about it. But the thing is in this situation here, you have a small tree, you have a tree, you have a tree, a little tree, and then another tree over here. So if you thin the smallest one out in the middle, you're not hurting anything. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my saw, I'm going to saw this one off at the base. Alright, now that's a lot of work right there, but a larger saw would be more bulk. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch this over. Let's get some of these branches off, some of these vines. Now there's a reason that you want to use a green tree instead of a dead tree. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off just like this. Alright, and then I'm going to cut this off just like this. Alright, so I have a Y. Okay.
And why did you make this Y?
And Y is because that will help hold part of the flag. And another thing,
Why, that's great.
if there's any kind of wild edibles or anything you want to get out of a tree, muscadines, crab apples, just whatever, then you have a means of reaching up and getting things out of a tree. It's right there.
I think I do.
Okay, now let's look at this. Now the reason that it's got to be green is because you're going to drag it behind you. All right. Now with this flag here, the way this thing is set up, it has the elastic on it so that you can strap it to itself. And then it's got 4 corners right here. So what we're going to do with it is we're going to hang this on here, just like this. I say this is one of those tricks that they never talk about on those TV shows. So, of course, they don't carry kits, but kits are good. All right, so I've got it hanging up on the end right there. And then what I'm going to do here, well, actually, what I should have done is, since this is an elastic bungee type cord, I'm going to stretch it over this first. And then I'm going to set this up on top of this. And then pull this down. And then we're going to use this cord lock to pull it tight. That way this thing, it doesn't need any extra cordage. You see, there's your flag right there, okay? So now, I'm down on the ground and I'm being obnoxious, okay? All right, I've got all this bright yellow on. Well, with this, I can either carry it behind me like this, or I can carry it up in the air if I have room. That way, if there's a hill, people can see me. And then there's another use for this thing. Also, you can carry it so that it's out in front of you to make sure that you'll get all the spider webs out of the way. All right, and then yet there's another use for it. So let's take a look. Another thing is, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, is it needs to be overhead high, okay? Not only so that you can be seen, you know, a little bit better, and you can get some height up here, and so you can...
Oop, where'd it go? There it is.
You can wave it around like this, all right? But if you trip, it won't stab you in the eye because it'll be up above your head. Now, if they find out you're lost after the second day, or if you told somebody where you are and you don't make it home, they may send out search and rescue. Search and rescue are trained in signs and tracking. So as you're walking along, what you want to do is you can either drag your feet to see there's marks. Ever so often drag your feet and they'll see those signs and they can follow straight to you. The other thing that you can do with this thing is that you can put this under your arm as you're walking and just drag it behind you.
That one's not so great.
See, as you're dragging it behind you, you're actually leaving a trail of disturbed leaves that, or whatever the duff is on the ground, pine straw leaves, whatever. People that are trained in that in search and rescue will see that and they'll follow it. All right? So, I'm going to go off in the distance and I want you to see how loud and obnoxious I am. I know this looks like a ridiculous get-up, and it's not tactical black or camo, but you know, like I said, you're not going to the mall to Foot Locker to buy a new pair of Nikes. You don't care what you look like. You want to be loud, bright, and obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, now, it comes to a certain point to where if you didn't make it out the first day, you're going to have to spend the night. So stop before dark and make yourself a camp. Okay, now, you want to find 2 strong trees. Now the trick to finding these trees is you don't necessarily, some people will make the mistake of just looking for large trees. Large trees are great with the proper spacing, but what you want to do is look up, see if there's any widowmakers, and most importantly, look and make sure there's green leaves on the tree, okay? Because I've seen some huge trees before that didn't have any leaves on them. You tie a hammock to them, and when you lay in it, it pulls the tree over, all right? You never want that. Never want that. Make sure that the tree is alive. Look for leaves, okay? Now, let's pull this off and let's take a look in here. First thing we want to do, we're going to get out our hammock. Alright. We don't need our first aid kit.
Evidently don't need my hat.
You don't need your hat?
Yeah, hat fell off.
Alright, so let's pull this out right here. Let's get this hammock out. I've got my suspension, and I've got my hammock. Right, so, let's get a strap out. And I think everybody has seen this stuff enough that they can know how to hang a hammock. We'll hang the first strap, and then I'll hang the second one. Alright, let's get one of these straps. And then we'll have to adjust it later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up here about head high. And run the strap through. Let's choke up on that tree right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and instead of doing a marlin spike hitch with a pin, I'm going to use a carabiner as a marlin spike hitch. And then I'll do the same thing to the other tree. Alright, so there you have it. What? 2-3 minutes and you have a place to sleep. Okay? Another 2 or 3 minutes I can have the tarp up and that'll be my shelter and my place to sleep for the night. Now wouldn't you much rather just do something like this instead of spending 4, 8, 12 hours building a shelter out of debris? Unlike TV, that is nothing you want to do. Okay?
Yeah.
2 to 3 minutes, if you got trees, you're good to go.
If you're good at it and you got a tree like that sitting there, you just tree shelter.
Just do it.
You got to feel like dealing with that though.
And there you go. So that's the way I'll sleep tonight, nice and comfortable. Now, leading to the other things, we're fixing to put a tarp up. There's the 5 C's of survival and the 5 H's of survival, and then there's the 5 E's of survival. Those are called the elements of survival. And that is, what can a kit do for you? Okay? You got to be able to get sleep. You need your rest. Okay? You got to be able to hydrate. Okay? Now, as far as sleep, we have a hammock. Okay? With a tarp. There's your sleep. Hydration. We have a canteen. We have a water filter for filtering water, and then we have a pot here for if we have to boil water. Okay. All right. So you've got sleep and hydration. You've got navigation. Navigation is my compass, and on top of the compass, what we have is also I have my cell phone in my pocket, and I have a spare battery for that cell phone in case I want to use the GPS. Okay. All right. Let's see. That was navigation. Signaling. That's number 4. Signaling is the little mylar piece in here. It's the mirror in the compass. It's the orange flag right there. And in some cases, it could also be this nauseating blue tarp. Okay, so that's signaling. All right, that's 4 of them. All right, sleep, hydration, navigation, signaling, and then protection from the elements. Now, protection from the elements is also the tarp and the poncho. Now, if you don't have trees, you also have to make the most of your kit. Okay? If you don't have trees and you wind up just having to set up against, if you have trees, it's great. But if you don't, what you can do is you can wrap yourself up, and if it gets cold, you can wrap yourself up in the hammock. And then you can wrap yourself up in the tarp. Okay, that's 2 layers. Wrap yourself up in the hammock, wrap yourself up in the tarp, and then you can put the poncho over you. And that's 3 layers right there blocking you from the wind, the rain, and the snow. So you have to think about other ways of using your kit. Okay, so what we're going to do, and then we're going to go through this, what's left in this here in a minute. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to set up our ridge line with this nauseating blue tarp, because I'm going to get a couple of shots off in the distance so that you can see how this color stands out. All right. All right, and there you go. There's going to be your shelter. where you're going to be nice and comfy for the night. Alright, so there you go. Now, I don't know if they make it or not, but sometimes you can get paracord or line that will glow in the dark and it'll keep you from tripping over it. Okay, so can you see up under here now?
Yeah.
You can scoot over a little bit if you want to. Now,
Oops, tree there.
here I am. Oh, you gonna lower it down or can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Alright, so see, there I am now. And what was that, Nick? That was way less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, here I am nice and comfy. I'm in a hammock. I'm going to get sleep tonight. I'm protected from the elements because I have a tarp overhead. Alright? Now, the tarp is an obnoxious, nauseating color that everybody can see in the distance. Now, if you want to, depending on the time of year, you can always carry a hammock with a bug net. Okay, I don't have one because of the bulk. I was trying to keep the bulk down, but I was trying to make it as deluxe as possible. So let's get some far off views of this campsite so that you can get an idea of how well you can be seen in a setup like this. Alright, Nick has walked a long ways off from the shelter, and I want him to zoom in, zoom out, and then pan around, and I want you to pay attention to what all is on either side of it, and kind of pay attention to how that shelter stands out, that anyone from a distance walking will instantly spot it. Okay? So just zoom in and pan around.
Yep. So first we're going to look at our surrounding environment.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's the shelter. And nothing. You can see to the top right the flag. There we go. There he goes. Also highly visible. Now this is a much closer shot, which is obviously more apparent, where you might see someone's regular shelter without high visibility items on it, but you know, you can clearly see, you know, amongst all the woods here, it's all your eye catches.
And I've got the flag. See, it just stands out from everything. And I've got the flag tied to the tree hanging over the top of the shelter. So there's nothing else out here like those colors.
Yeah. And I mean, really, how can you not see that do-rag?
Like I said, you're not going to Belk's to buy a new pair of chinos. So you want to be as loud and obnoxious as possible. Now Nick had a fantastic idea that he wants to show the difference in survival type look at me clothing and bushcraft type clothing. Okay, so Nick is in the shot and I am in the shot. And I'm going to walk away and I'm going to stand here and y'all look at this for about a minute and then I'm going to tell Nick to come out. And Nick's not crouching down. Do you see him yet? All right, step out, Nick. Right here. Now see, hopefully the shelter made its point, and hopefully Nick's clothing and my clothing has made the point. Okay, and like I said, this is nothing that you'll ever see on the survival TV shows. Alright, so let's talk about what's going to happen real quick on your first night. Okay? Alright, now luckily, since I'm smart, I carried enough water for the first day. If this goes into the second day, then I have my water filtration kit, or I have my pot. Now, if things get ugly, I have a net, bug net, to cover my head. Okay? I also have waterproof survival matches for if I want a fire. Now fire, I can either signal with it, or I can boil water in this pot, or I can keep warm with it, or it can boost my spirits. It'll be something that I can sit here on the first night and stare into the fire. Now, I have 3 packs of nuts. Okay? I have 2 Nutri-Grain bars. Alright, on the first night, if I'm hungry, I can eat a Nutri-Grain bar. Alright, I'm going to refrain from this. The second day, if I have to, I can eat this. The first day, I can eat nuts and a bar if I have to. Save this for the second day, save this for the third day. I'll be very hungry, but I won't die. Okay? Your main thing is staying hydrated. You can go for days without food, just carry snacks. This is also a can of chocolate. The sugar in there and the caffeine in the chocolate can give you a burst of energy. This is in a nice steel container, so you ain't got to worry about it getting crushed, but certain times of year it may melt. Okay, but that's going to be your mental boost and your energy boost as you're hiking. Got a little flashlight with a clip. I can either clip it on me or whatever, but I don't want to be traveling at night. Last thing I want is something poked in the eye or to get lost from my shelter. Okay, and then of course I've got the pot here. Okay, so those are the basics right there. All right. And then I've got some cordage left over. Okay, so what we're going to do, first night, sleep. Okay.
Yep.
And then we'll worry about tomorrow when it comes. Wait, I just remembered something. If it gets a little cold at night, I have a blanket.
Yep.
If it gets really cold, you're going to need an underquilt. But that's too much bulk for a survival kit. Camo's perfectly fine for if you're in a tarp. Under the tarp,
Oh, and now I do have something to add. Before you get, now I do have something to add. Before you get into your shelter, take off any of your reflective clothing and hang up somewhere, too, so that can be seen.
and you pack everything up, and there's more of a chance of the second day that people's going to be looking for you. So if you want to, if it's during the fall where there's a lot of yellow and orange prevalent, or if the wind is blowing, instead of wearing your camo poncho, maybe, just maybe, you'll want to wrap this thing around you. Okay? Now, I'm going to walk around a little bit, and I want you to see how much I stand out in the forest dressed like this. Okay? Alright, second day. game changer. Okay, I'm out of the woods and I found a clearing. Okay, not only am I out in the open now, a little bit more, but on the second day, I'm hoping that they're searching for me. Okay, now, let me find my compass. It's at the bottom of my pocket. All right, now people talk about signal mirrors. Okay, now with the signal mirror, what you got to do is if you see an aircraft, you shine your mirror at it. Well, there's a better solution. Make yourself the signal mirror. Now this is the final trick of the show. Remember that little piece of Mylar with a rubber band around it? Okay. Remember what I said. You're not going to JCPenney to buy a new pair of Nikes. You don't care what you look like. With this reflective material, you could stand here and use it to signal an aircraft. Or,
Yeah, like that one. I can hear one, but I can't see it.
yeah, I hear one, see? See, as soon as you hear one, do you want to get out your signal mirror or do you want to be the signal mirror? So what you do with this thing is you set it on top of your head, just like this, and then you put a rubber band over it.
I think it went in the clouds over there.
Now see, I look like a complete idiot, don't I?
Yes.
But I'm reflective, okay? So as I'm traveling along, see all this greenery out here? If an airplane is flying over, as I'm walking, I'm going to be moving. And this reflectivity, there's no reason for anything shiny silver to be moving across a field. And they may just check it out, especially if they know there's a person missing, okay? I know I look nuts, but this is a survival technique. It's an extreme survival technique. And this is too stupid to show on TV. But it works. Be the signal.
Yes. You are the signal.
Alright, so I've been following my compass. I've been staying my course east. Okay. Now, I haven't found my campsite. I haven't found anything recognizable other than a road. Okay. So I have now officially made it. So, take that signal device off right there.
Thank you.
Was it blinding?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, see, it works. So, and there it is. Now what I have is a road. Okay. So I have found my way out. I picked a course. I stuck to the course. Later on, I may want to come back and remove all those yellow markers that I left on my trail as I was going along. Okay. But for the most part, I've made it out. Once I have a road, I can find my way out. Anything you want to add?
Not much.
Okay then.
Yeah, not really.
Think about your kit. Think about what you're going to carry. Think about what time of year. Think about how you're going to sleep. Take your kit out. See how hungry you get. See if you can sleep. See how cold you get. Check your signal devices. Get a vest. Get something obnoxious. Get a flag. Be seen. Be heard. Like I said, be like your drunk uncle at your cousin's 5th wedding that he's paid for 5 times. And so, here we are. Here's the road. I'm going to walk back to civilization now. I have made it. I didn't stay. I'm not raising kids and puppies and building picket fences. So, hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it opened your mind, made you start thinking about these things. And we shall see you in the next one.
See you later.